Okay, what's up, sad girls? Today we're doing a video on Geoguessr. If you haven't heard of Geoguessr, it is a game where you get put semi-randomly in a place that is available in Google Street View, and you have to figure out where you are. The closer you get, the more points you get. There's also a battle royale mode where you try to get the country before other people. Uh, if you want to learn more about the rules of Geoguessr and how it works, there's plenty of things to do to look that up, starting with going to the website itself. What I'm here to explain to you is how I have improved in Geoguessr since I started playing, because I watched a lot of YouTubers and a lot of pros do it, and I was like, oh, it can't be that hard, right? What they don't always explain are the nuances of this game and how the littlest, tiniest thing can tell you exactly where you are in the world. And you could just be surrounded by trees and dirt. And we're going to have a couple of rounds here that I'm going to show you where that happens. And we can still figure out where we are. So this video is primarily helping you learn how to get better at Geoguessr. And I'm going to share my method of getting better with you. So before we hop into these rounds, I want to show you this article here that I found on the Geoguessr subreddit, somerandomstuff1.wordpress.com. It's Geoguessr top tips, tricks, and techniques. Excuse me. It's long. I mean, it is comprehensive. Like, it keeps going and going and going. So I don't expect anybody to read this entire thing. I mean, if you do, by all means, go for it. I still haven't finished it. What I've been using it for instead is I've been taking a look at this outline here, you know, kind of how to identify different countries, what parts of the meta stand out. So if you go to meta here, it kind of tells you about the different types of Street View cars, where you can find rifts and things like that. We'll scroll back up to the top here. And then it'll tell, oh no, we got to go even further up. And you can see how to identify different countries, how to tell you're, let's say, in the United States, for example, or how to tell you're in Canada, or how to tell you're in Mexico. And it covers basically every country. Highway numbering systems, just techniques and strategies in general. It really is a great comprehensive guide. And rather than read through all of it, what we're going to do is we're going to go to individual locations. What I normally do is I go into a diverse world, which is a mode through the game. It's got 52,000 hand-picked locations. And I go in there and I see what clues I can find, and I try to find what country I'm in through this article here. Now, maybe during a stream or something, we can do that. I can show you just on a random game or a few random games. My Twitch link, as well as the link to this article here, will be available in the description of this video. So if you're looking for that, then you can check that out. What we're going to do, though, instead, is I've kind of handpicked some locations here. So we're going to edit this. I've handpicked some locations across the world, and I'm going to show you kind of how you can tell where we are based on how much is available. So we're going to start with this little section right here first. And I'm assuming this is no moving, so we can look around, we can zoom, but we're not going to leave this area here where we're at. Right away, we look for things, right? We look for as many clues as we can get. And again, this is how I get better. I talk out loud and I say, what do I see? What are the first things that I notice? Well, I noticed that the sun is roughly to the south, it seems. It seems the sun is to the south, which would mean we are reasonably in the northern hemisphere. I notice we don't have a roof rack. There's nothing too discernible about the Google Street car. And I noticed that we're driving on the left side of the road here. We're driving on the left. And we've got a few pretty big signs, as well as some flags over here. I see this flag here with the red and the blue and the white stripe in the middle. If I know my flags, I know where this is. If I don't, then I need to learn my flags, of course. But we can go off some signs here. We have these signs with a pretty distinct alphabet. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go to this article here, And I'm going to just Control F, alphabet, see if I can find anything that looks like that alphabet that I'm looking at. So there's nothing there. So what I'm going to do is look through different countries here, go to the outline, and take a look at this again. Right, so we have these very distinct letters, and we're going to go to the article here, and we're going to go to languages. And now we can go through this. We're going to start with Asia, and we're just going to go through these and see which one looks like what we're looking for. Let's say I look at these two, Thai and Cambodian. They look kind of similar, but they are distinct enough from each other. I go back to my street view here, and I look at that, and I see there's a real bolded looking, they're very distinct. And I say, okay, that looks a lot like Thai. I'm going to scroll a little more so you can see Laos, the Lao language is very different. So is the Sri Lankan and the Bangladeshi, the Bengali language. Same for Hindu. The only two that really look like a little bit similar are Thai and Cambodian. But I think looking at this, I can reasonably say that that is Thai. In case that doesn't work, I have these flags here. If I Control F flags, I'm sure I could scroll through here and find the chart with all the flags on it. It's right here. We're going to go down to Asia. We see that the Thai flag does have that white stripe through the middle. Here's another one, the red on top, the navy blue stripe through the middle. And we can reasonably say, okay, that's the Thai flag. So we could say that we're in Thailand. Where in Thailand? Well, it gets tough, but we see a lot of signage. This is a pretty big city. It would be reasonable to guess outside of Bangkok. You'd probably get a lot of points there. It's all about looking at those clues and finding what stands out and where this might come from. So the next time that I see the Thai language, I might remember what that flag looks like because I looked it up. Or I might remember how the Thai language differs from the Cambodian language. And I've just my observation, the Cambodian language almost reminds me a little bit more of cursive, whereas the Thai language feels a bit more boldened, if that makes sense. Again, it takes practice, but it feels as though the Thai language is a little more recognizable. Of course, one thing that we would learn if we looked driving on the left, I'll bet you we would find that Thailand drives on the left, while Cambodia, drives on the right. I know it's in here. There is a map on here. I'm going to find it real quick. General clues, maybe? No. In retrospect, I should have looked this up. This part I should have looked for before starting this video. However, there is a map in here that shows you which side of the road different countries drive on. I can't specifically remember which part of this article says it. You can kind of look through it and find it relatively easily. I'm just having a tough time finding it there. But there's our first round. So let's say you have a round where the language is discernible. You found the language. It's a what's the word for that? The language, Cyrillic. The alphabet, Cyrillic alphabet. A lot of countries use the Cyrillic alphabet, so we don't have a lot else to go off of here. I mean, we've got some signs over here, but it's kind of hard to read these. We're not going to know what this says, and that could say what country we're in. So we're looking around here. All we know is that this country uses the Cyrillic alphabet. We look up in the sky. We see the sun is to the south-ish, but it doesn't really tell us much. We don't have a lot to go off of here. One thing that we can do is we can look at this car, and we can say, well, there's no roof rack, but we've got this red bit back here, and we've got this real funny looking antenna, like this real tall, thin antenna that looks to be in the back of the car because there's cars behind us here. So we could go to this article and say, okay, Control F, antenna, right? Maybe we'll find something about the Google Street View car that talks about antenna. And we're seeing different pictures of antennas. That doesn't really quite look like what we're looking at. It's close, but not quite. How about this one? This doesn't look too far off. In Russia, the most common Street View car is a ghostly black with a long antenna. Okay? Well, this car is a not so ghostly red. So what if we keep going and see if there is anything else? So let's go back to that Russia bit, right? So that's what the Russian one looks like. What about somewhere else that uses the Cyrillic language that is similar to Russia? How about Ukraine? So we'll search through kind of some of the Ukraine stuff here. And it says here, if you pan down, most of Ukraine has a red car with a long antenna visible. This can be particularly useful if you are pondering whether you are in Ukraine or Russia. That's exactly like that, right? That's the same thing. We'll pull this in full screen just so you can really see it. It's that red bit on the bottom of the back of the car and then that black antenna. Now, this has taken me some digging through this article. Again, I haven't read front to back, but you have to think, well, maybe if I'm not in Russia, because this isn't a black car with an antenna, then maybe I am in. Now, see, here is that antenna again. I guess I just missed it searching through, but maybe I'm in Ukraine. So if you Control F something like antenna or what does this say? Red car, something like that. You might find it. Or you could just go down to the section where it says how to identify certain countries, and you find the countries that you are most suspicious of. So if I'm suspicious that it might be Russia or Ukraine, then I will scroll down here, and here's Ukraine. I click that. This tells me right away, red car, long visible antenna. So there we go. So again, this is just an example of sometimes just because you have a sign with a language doesn't mean it gives you the full picture, but that's okay because we can get there. Sometimes you don't even get a sign with language on it. Sometimes you just get signs that just show you warning signs. Something that I found very interesting in this article was explaining where different warning sign situations pop up. So if we Control F and we say warning signs, let's scroll through and see. So here's a kind of common one. This looks like the one we're looking at. Kind of. Our red line's a little thinner, but it's a yellow sign with a red border around it. And only a handful of countries in Europe have this style or warning sign. So, okay, that's useful. Where can we find more of that? Well, we're going to scroll through here. It's going to take a second, I know. There's a map in here that shows you where different warning signs can be found. Now, we see here with Poland, Poland is the only country in the world with a unique looking warning sign. They are triangular with yellow filling and a notably thin red outline. That's notably thin, right? That is a pretty thin. Again, whoops. We got to go back to the start there. So we will go back to the start here and we'll take a look at this. We'll full screen it. And we're going to take a look. That is a noticeably thin red line around the yellow sign. Now, again, in here, there's an example. Looks exactly like the sign we're looking at. We could say there, okay, reasonably, we are somewhere in Poland. Once you get a little bit better at understanding different parts of Poland, things like that, that's when you start really getting the big points. But those little nuances are real important. And you'll remember because you went through this article looking for the map of the different countries where the warning signs, how they appear in different countries. So now I believe it's in general clues, and it is, let's see, It's not utility poles and bollards. Let's see. Other clues, maybe? I don't think it's in other clues. I think it had its own section. Again, we're going to Control F this again. We're going to just start at the top, because there is certainly a map in here that tells you, and I don't remember where it's at, but it is, rest assured, it is in this article. Again, this article's kind of long. It takes time to go through it a bit, but it is worth it. Here we go. This is what I was looking for. This map right here shows us in different colors here who uses these different signs. And we see in the dark red here, I'm going to open this in a tab so you can see it a little better. Poland is in that dark red area. It's Poland. It's very few countries. It's Vietnam, South Korea, Sweden, Finland, Greece, and Poland, and I believe Iceland there, and maybe Cuba. That doesn't really matter too much because we found Poland has a much thinner red line around the border than other countries. So if we remember that next time we get a Poland round and we see that thin red line, we at least get Poland before maybe some other people do, or we get a better score there. So it's about finding things like that. Yeah, there's a warning signs thing here. I believe, excuse me, it is under, oh man, it must be under the roads section. Yeah, I think it's under the roads section. Again, it takes time to like pouring through this article, but it is worth it, and I'm still in the process of it. So let's say we don't have road signs. We don't have anything really to go off of, right? We have something like this. This is brutal. I mean, we're looking around here, and this could be anywhere. This could be Australia. This could be Brazil. This could be a number of African countries, but we know to look for clues, right? We check the Google car, roof rack. That's huge. We can look in this article, and we can search what cars have the roof rack. I know it's in here somewhere. It's in the meta section, so we'll just find it ourselves. If we go to meta, we go to Street View Car Hints, we see if you pan down certain countries, the bars protruding from the Street View car are visible. Guatemala, Faroe Islands, Mongolia, Kyrgyzstan, Senegal, Ghana, Kenya, and Morocco, I believe. Never gotten that one before. Parts of Bangladesh, Nigeria, and parts of Laos also have the bars visible. Ghana, you get the black tape. We do not have the black tape. What we do have, and something you might have overlooked playing this game before, is we have this weird rift in the sky here. Like it's very bizarre looking. Here's a much better view of it. This weird looking rift in the sky. I don't think that's naturally occurring. I think that has something to do with the game. You see how this kind of looks like that. Let's Control F rift here, and it's in the meta section, of course. If you pan up in Senegal, you should see a few things, right? Maybe one of these rifts. They also occur in most of Montenegro and in Albania, it seems. Now, if you've played this game a little bit, you should know the difference between something like Senegal and Albania and Montenegro. This is very flat. We've got very red dirt here, and we've got the roof rack most importantly. So the combination of the roof rack and the rifts in the sky here can help us realize that is probably Senegal. And that's huge, because when you can get those smaller countries that other people don't think of, or you just get into a diverse world and you find a smaller country with a rift or something like that, I mean, that will give you a lot of points, no matter how far off you are. If you just guess generally in the area of Dakar here, you're going to get at least 4,500 points, probably more than that. So for the final little round here, I wanted to show you this one, because this really does feel like a bleak round. I mean, look at this. You can't even really see where you are, right? And you're probably thinking, oh man, this could be, I don't know, Australia. It could be South Africa maybe, or Brazil, or the US, or whatever. Well, we can even find out where we are in the world with a round like this. And a lot of it, believe it or not, has to do with the meta of this game. Much like the Rift and things like that, we're going to use context clues of the Google Street View itself to find out. We have an antenna here. We could probably look into that. But what we are going to do first is we're going to look at the sun, and we're going to see it's very clearly to the south, right? Sun's to the south. That helps. That eliminates half of the world, right? All of the southern hemisphere. This could be a lot of places. But if we go into this article here and we search generation, right? Camera generations, because this has to be early generations. This looks disgusting, quite frankly. We're going to see it talks a lot about the different generations. And we see that we can get all kinds of generations here and here and here. And this is a useful map. But we're going to see here, Generation 1 camera, ridiculously poor quality, easy to spot, right? I mean, it's hard to miss how crappy this looks. If you encounter it, you must be in the US, Australia, or New Zealand. Well, that's huge. If we know for certain that we are in one of 3 countries, and 2 of them are in the southern hemisphere, and the sun is to the south, which means we're in the northern hemisphere, we know we're in the US. Now, how close you get in the US, that can be tough. Reasonably, I think if we looked at this, we could say, yeah, we're probably in the Midwest somewhere. And if we really just wanted to see how many points we could get, because American rounds are hard, even for Americans, they're tough. You could guess somewhere in the middle of Nebraska, you'd still probably get a lot of points there. You'd get more points than most people would in this kind of round. So something like that, the camera generation, can be surprisingly useful. My goal for you in general, in this type of situation, if you're trying to learn how to get better at Geoguessr, you have this article handy here, which I have to just give immense thanks to the person who wrote this up and has kept this updated, because it is still updated. Like, it's updated with the Battle Royale meta and everything. It is very, very well done. I have to commend them because it is an extremely useful article. And while obviously you shouldn't be doing this if you're playing against other people, if you're streaming or something like that, you know, this is more so my recommendation for getting better at the game, because it can be a tough game. But if you have rounds like these and you are brand new and you really do truly want to get better, you're taking notes and you are making sure you remember next time to check what the outline of the sign looks like or what the antenna on the back of the car looks like, you're going to start doing better. You're going to start getting some really great rounds. Because if you have to research, if you have to look through this article, which, like I say, is comprehensive, if it takes you enough time that you remember, okay, next time I'm in Ukraine or I see the Cyrillic alphabet, first thing I'm doing is checking the back of this stupid car for the red spot and the antenna. If that's what you end up doing, this is gonna start sticking. You're gonna start remembering it. Same for knowing what countries have the rift, or what languages and alphabets are used in which country, what kinds of warning signs you find in different countries, and what camera generations are most common in which countries. Those are all huge, useful things that you can take from researching through this article. Again, if you want to read through the whole thing, be my guest, please do, because you will be better. But I think you will get even more good at this game if every time you're stumped on a round, you go through here and you just start control F'ing all of the different hints and clues that you find in your round. Because once you are you're on the verge of what country it might be, you have a few options, you can start going through here and you can see, well, does this country seem like Jordan? Is that the vibe that I get from here? And then next time you get around in Jordan, you will know what you found in this article and you'll be able to identify it before other people, or you might get a higher score, or you might make it further in Battle Royale because of it. Regardless, the goal of having this article available and putting it to use is so that you get better at Geoguessr and that you can have more fun with it. Because, I mean, Geoguessr is more fun when you start getting higher scores and you start doing better at the game. It really is a spectacular game once you've kind of gotten into it and figured it out a bit. So, anyways, I'm starting to ramble a bit here. I think this is a good place to call it off. Again, come join me on Twitch. We do this on stream where I play Geoguessr, and I usually don't do great, but I am getting better. And if I get enough people or enough interest, I think I would love to do a few rounds where I show off this technique that I showed you in this video, but in some random games, so you can really see me putting, these tips, tricks, and techniques to use, because I'm telling you, they are very much so put to use. And it, like I said, it helps me get better, and that's huge, because you don't want to waste 10,000 rounds just guessing random stuff and feel like you're not going anywhere. You just won't end up playing the game. So anyways, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope that I run into you in Battle Royale and Geoguessr, or that your scores end up in the records or whatever. But yeah, thank you for watching. See ya.